Supervisor meeting for August 20th to order. Please rise and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please silence your cell phones. I have two announcements. Today's meeting was advertised in the paper on August 12th. We will be doing meetings a little different the rest of the year because of COVID-19. Our next meeting will be at the Township building. The following will be at Stevens Fire Hall. The October 1st will be at the Township. October 15th, the Reedstown Fire Hall. November 5th will be the Township building. November 19th, the Smokestown Fire Company. And December 3rd will be at the Township building. And December 17th will be at the Stevens Fire Hall. We're doing it at the fire hall so we can have more people attend and do their safe distancing. Also, I'd like to announce this morning, Thursday, August 20th at 9 a.m., we have an executive session for personnel and legal matters and directed the township manager to do something. Okay. Yes.
Let's do something.
She was instructed.
Take the temperature of the weather or what?
Yes, definitely.
She was given directives.
She was given directives.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry. Okay, past meeting minutes. The meeting minutes of August 6th, any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I have none.
Okay, the motion to be approved of the Thursday, August 6th, Board of Supervisor meeting minutes as presented. Are there any additions or corrections? No. The motion be approved of. Second?
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Land planning.
All right, first on my list here is Bill Phase 3 and 4. As we've been talking about this plan for a while, it is the Phase 3 and 4 development in Reedstown. Landmark has purchased that property to develop it. Their consultant is EMA. The reason you have an updated engineer's report agenda item in front of you is because Landmark called me this morning, noting that they were intending on providing an open space lot behind Lot 11. Lot 11 was the property that previously had a stormwater basin in their rear yard. Now Landmark is going ahead and making that an open space lot. Some details are yet to come, but Joe asked me to put a motion in the report and see if the board would consider recommending conditional approval due to their change and their willingness to establish an HOA on behalf of the recent coordination efforts between Landmark and the township. Joe did want to express gratitude for the board's consideration to hear him out on some items related to the HOA and express that he was very happy with it. The township interacted with he and Landmark. Just like I said, he wanted to express gratitude and make sure that came up in a nice meeting. As far as that, there are a bunch of outstanding items administratively with the Cherry plan. As three of you are aware, we will need HOA agreements. We may need a developer agreement depending on Tom Goodman's decision. So there are some outstanding administrative items. Park and rec fee, we have yet to see the number for that or receive payment for that item. I guess the last thing to highlight with that open space is that we did talk with Tom Goodman this morning. Tom Goodman is not concerned with that lot not having street frontage because it is a non-buildable lot and there is a 30-foot easement going between lots 10 and 11. Therefore, the HOA can maintain that basin as it was originally intended to be maintained by the owner of lot 11. So I just want to highlight that point. That being said, previously last week, before Joe called me, Landmark had sent us a time extension to extend the current deadline for action until October 27th. That being said, Joe contacted us this morning and requested that the board consider granting conditional approval for the Carriage Hill Phase 3 and 4 plans. So I can read you one of the other motion. I guess I can start with the time extension or the conditional approval. give me some feedback on what you'd like.
Let's do the time, can we do the time extension first? Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, based on last week, Landmark sent us a time extension request and email correspondence on August 13th. Therefore, the motion right now would be to accept the written time extension offer as submitted by the applicant via email correspondence dated August 13th, 2020, which will extend the deadline for action on the Carriage Hill Phase 3 and 4 preliminary final subdivision plan until October 27th, 2020.
I'll make that motion.
No second, Mr. Comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
Okay. That being said, would the board be in tune to offering legal approval at the time, or would they like to move with that single motion accepting the written time extension?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I spoke with Joe as well. He called me this afternoon and just elaborated a little bit on what Casey said. That lot 11, currently the plan is 35 lots, I believe, and it is their intention to divide that lot and make it 36 lots, and take that piece that has the detention pond on, that will be sole ownership of the HOA and the responsibility of the HOA. And so it will be the HOA that carries the load and carries the responsibility of that lot. It still gives them enough frontage in the front to put a house there, but that lot will be divided. So instead of the plan having 35 lots, it's going to be like 36 lots.
Right, like I said, our assumption, we have not seen an updated plan yet, but our assumption is that nothing is going to change as far as lot boundaries except that lot 11, and where there's currently a stormwater management easement, that blanket easement will end up being the open space lot without the 30-foot easement that comes between lots 10 and 11. That would end up being the easement that you can grant access from the street to the basin. So as far as lot configuration for the overall development, at this time, we are led to believe that we are not changing. It is simply that instead of having 35 lots, it will be having 35 and an extra open space. And like I said, we talked to Tom Goodman this morning, and his understanding was that it would be a zoning concern because it is a non-buildable lot, and it is accessible through the 30-foot maintenance, or even between lots 10 and 11.
And likewise, Joe reiterated to me his appreciation for this board and your willingness to work with them. But after they went back to the table, they saw that, this was the right way to do things, and that's why they decided to go with the HOA and this way.
Yeah, so Casey, basically the spirit of what we discussed last time in terms of what to do with that lot and the best thing for those homes, sounds like they're in agreement with what
Yes.
overall.
It sounded like Joe talked it over with Landmark, and Landmark discussed it and ultimately agreed with the board and understood the board's concerns, long-term maintenance, future costs way down the road. And they understood the board's concern and elected to implement an open space lot and an HOA. Now, like I said, the HOA documents have not been formed yet. There isn't a draft HOA agreements, but we have that correspondence with Landmark regarding what we believe shall be owned and maintained by the HOA, including that 30-inch pipe that goes between lots 10 and 11 and is relatively deep, and the main basin, called inshore, the main pipe coming in from the streets and the development into the basin.
All right, Casey, do you consider that maybe there's a few too many unfinished issues here to take that approval step, or are you confident everything will be pulled together?
I think everything's going to be pulled together, but it's ultimately the board's decision on how they feel the items that are still outstanding affect this plan. Like I said, there is a parking rec fee, there is a potential developer agreement or roadway agreement as far as temporary access through lot 1 from Ridge Ave. Like I said, it is our belief that should be in place as long as possible. That way the existing streets for the development are not being accessed for the construction of that development, will not be damaged via concrete trucks, dump trucks, bulk material trucks, all the above construction equipment. So that's still outstanding. Like I said, the HOA agreements have not been formed yet. That's still a draft. And there are very minuscule of the plan-related items that I believe will be addressed during the next plan submission. It's really the biggest things are those outstanding items that need to be discussed between the township and the landmark.
But this motion documents all that has to be done yet.
That motion does document that all of that needs to be done. It's not precisely detailed as our, it mentions our most recent vendor engineering review letter, being the more detailed reference, but it does reference our engineering review letter, the HOA documents, signature of any required agreement pertaining to the required use of temporary construction access, preservation of township roadways, and ultimately to the satisfaction of township solicitor. So it does have a blanket statement as to making sure that those items are completed in our conditions as part of the potential conditional approval.
So it does capture.
It does capture it, so.
Then you're confident nothing was missed there, then?
Based upon our review letter, like I said, our review letter is still a couple pages long, but we do have everything outlined that needs to be done with the plans.
Okay.
All right. I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? Yes.
Is that a consideration? I mean, without seeing the further anything like that, as far as the HOA being responsible down the road for sinkholes, maintenance of the pond, anything like that? There's strong wording in that.
Well, that was going to be my question, and obviously, nothing's final until the board puts their ink on those plans, and I would ensure that our solicitor reviews that HOA agreement before it's signed, to make sure that, before those plans are signed. Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do the other two phases have an HOA?
They do not.
No.
Are they going to get charged this whole HOA then?
No.
Just the two new phases? Is that fair?
Those new phases are the ones that are actually contributing to where that basin is. That's where the outflow goes. So those are the homes that they're directly impacted.
Any other questions? Should be able to motion a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
All right, the second item on my agenda would be a small project, 38 Hayloft Road. That would be in the old homestead development. I think this project was previously brought to you by Penny with that agreement. Per the old land development subdivision plans from 95, 96, the wetland was delineated across a rear portion of this yard. They had a vortex go out. That would be a wetland investigator go out and document where the wetland is today. They sent me revised plans for the revised wetland delineations. Our office reviewed it, Tony reviewed the plans, and we have approved those plans. As you know, the next step of small projects is having a written stormwater management easement agreement documenting what is in their project, what the details of their project is, and what they are required to maintain as long as those improvements are in place. Therefore, we recommend that the Board of Supervisors consider the following motion. That motion would be to authorize the Board of Supervisors to sign the stormwater management easement agreement related to the 38 Hayloft Road stormwater management small project application as prepared by the township solicitor when executed by the applicant and submitted to the township.
There's nobody here for that either. Okay, what's the wish of the board?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Now second. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Lastly, I just want to highlight that recently we received a notice of termination from the Lancaster County Conservation District and the as-built recording information regarding the garden spot frame alignment project. The township was previously holding a letter of credit for that project based on Becker Engineering's July 2nd, 2020 email and conditions attached to that. The board had previously approved a motion on July 16th, 2020, authorizing the full release of the current plan of security being held by the township until they answer all those items within that Becker Engineering email. based upon Tony's evaluation of the site today and their landscaping that may have a couple trees that may not have taken hold. We did grant the township permission to release authorize the full release of the existing financial security based on Tony's evaluation and Pioneer Management, the applicant's consultant, answering or authorizing all the conditions that were previously contingent upon them. Just want to give you guys a heads up and let you know that that letter of credit is in the process of being released based on your previous motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as part of the 38 AGLO stormwater maintenance and management agreement, there was a right-of-way agreement that had to be signed in order to complete that. That agreement was signed on August 13th, but for the record, I would like a motion for that right-of-way agreement, and you do have it before you.
Okay, the motion to authorize execution of August 13th, 2020 right-of-way agreement between Peter E. and Sherry L. Midden at 38 Dayloft Road, granting temporary right-of-way of access to the rear of their yard through Old Homestead Village Park. I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, Zimmerman discussion.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Bill Sprink with David Moore, Associate again, and White and Ronnie, White from it. Zimmerman are here with me also. At our meeting at your meeting on the 6th, we did talk about this, and I asked for your input on the establishment of a townhouse-only project at this location, and would ask for your consideration of, I guess, further discussions with the township about moving forward with that alternative.
You're looking at me.
Look at both of you. The key aspect did not fit the village overlay ordinance. So it would be a totally new endeavor, and all those homes in that area, that'd be a lot of traffic and to put in that those roads. So I don't know, I don't see how we can make it work. Plus, you only have one access, and if anything happened in that first unit, the emergency, people like the fire company and ambulance couldn't get back in the other part. And one of my pet peeves in any new development, we have to have two access. Many years ago, Cocalico Heights had one access, and that must have lasted, what, 20 years or so? And now, since Stony Point's been built, they have two accesses there. And with one access, that doesn't work.
Yeah, we would want to comply with providing two access points for the project.
Yeah.
Not that we're not proposing to comply with that. I mean, as it relates to the traffic and the number of units, the density of the project is actually less than what's permitted by the ordinance. So that's really not an issue in terms of, at least from my perspective, we're going to go with one or the other type of development. It's really the mixture of the units. We feel that establishing single-family homes within there is going to be an odd, well, establishing a mixture of homes consistent with this village design is really out of context within the location that this property is located, given its surroundings and the odd configuration of the property. So what we're really looking for is the ability to work with the township on redefining that section of the ordinance, not the village overlay section, but the underlying zoning for that section of the township to allow for townhouses and to provide for as much compliance as possible with the other your other goals. Really, what we want to see is if there's any support for having a townhouse-only development there.
I guess from my perspective, when you look at the village overlay and how it's put together, I hear what you're saying. I think it's important for us to kind of remain with the plan that's in place when we have that kind of density. We stay with village overlay in one respect or another. Now, I guess a minor deviation in density numbers, that could be a discussion item for my perspective, but you start going out in different directions. Well, then the next guy wants to, and the next guy, and the next guy. And, I think the board has went in that direction in the past, that village overlays where this high density stuff needs to be. And, I think I'd like to stay with it.
Yeah, okay, I guess maybe there's some disconnect on, we're not intending to change, our goal would not be to change the village overlay. It would be to allow for this zoning to occur within the underlying zoning district. The village overlay applies to a lot of different other zoning districts in the community. This is specifically intended to apply to the base R3 zoning district as opposed to applying the change to the village overlay. I want to make sure that we're clear on that. We're not looking to make changes to the village overlay. We would want to approach the R3 zoning criteria only. And if I understand it correctly, there are very limited, if not, this may be the only other remaining property that is R3 zone, where this criteria would apply to. So you're not opening up a can of worms, so to speak, to other areas in the community.
I kind of disagree with that, sir. Even though there might only be 3 more properties that would fit your criteria, if the board starts deviating, making major deviations to a certain zone area or permit, other ones are going to come in with theirs and say, well, you made major deviations for them. Why aren't you making major deviations for us? And that's where I would draw caution for the board.
So I guess from what we're understanding is we need to continue with the village overlay. We're going to have the density will obviously be driven down. This isn't, your goal for this area is not to have a dense piece of property, I guess is what I'm taking from this. Because the density will be driven down because of the need to introduce single-family dwellings and other mixtures of other dwelling units. So that's what your objective is for this property.
That's a little bit what my thought is.
So what you're basically, let me put it in some quantitative numbers, right? So basically what we're looking at here is, if I remember correctly, the village overlay, you've got a maximum of townhouses of about 35% of the property, okay? You've got a single-family detached at a maximum of 50%, but 35%. That's where the village overlay sits. And then in terms of duplexes, you've got a maximum of 35%. So when we look at the quantitative numbers, exactly more or less. So you've got 35 to 35 and roughly
A third of each.
a third of each.
Each use type.
Right, in general terms. So now we're going to switching from a third of each type to 100% of one type.
Right.
I mean, that's really the question you're asking.
Right, and you're absolutely right. The other challenge, though, is getting the density that's available within this district. Because of the configuration of the lot, we're going to have a challenge to get to that density. I mean, it's not the lot is unique in that fact, in that condition. And we're not going to be able to introduce, driveways, like putting new roadways through there is possible, obviously, but because of this configuration, you can't really lay out a grid of roadways to allow for, a road with an alley. It's just a challenging condition there. So, but, that's why we're here. That's why we're asking this question. We'd like to present this and proceed with this one, but it sounds like you'd like us to follow the guidance that's within the ordinance more closely.
That would be my thought. Proceed.
I'm torn on this one. Quite frankly, I'm torn on this one because I think one of the things we need to do as a community, and I've said this before, is we need to move forward development in East Cocalico. We've got infrastructure costs that, you know, we talked about this the last couple of years. We've got infrastructure costs and carrying costs that are there, and they've been there for years, and they're getting worse. I understand what you're saying, the geography, or it's not topography, it's the geography of that parcel of land. When you start applying one rule of thumb in that parcel, it becomes extremely difficult to build that percentage of single-family duplex and townhomes. And probably what you're looking at is when you do the calculation related to the return on investment for doing that, there's no return on investment when you're going to be limited to that number of homes, probably.
Right.
And I would think that's what you're looking at.
Correct. That's why this is, you know, to extend the utilities to this location is a challenge, as you've identified. We have to bring sewer quite a bit of distance to get here. It is a, you know, I guess I need to reinforce this too much, but it is an oddly shaped piece of land due to nothing that the applicant has established. I mean, the location of the railroad is what it is. It's just what it is. You know, it's a piece of land that has to be dealt with. You know, allowing for, you know, even beyond the criteria that these gentlemen have for developing this, establishing that character of community in this location has some challenges as well because of marketability of the lots and how it really fits into the context of this neighborhood. You know, you have single-family dwellings on either side. There isn't really that village concept here. You know, we don't have walkability to shops and streets, or I'm sorry, shops and other places, services that would be available. So it's a little bit of it's just a disconnect from, you know, your downtown village area.
You know, I think it warrants more discussion because it's just, I think we're at a point with some of the parcels that are left that I don't know that one size fits all anymore, based on the parcels that are left.
I think the village overlay works well in the areas where we are adjacent to like use, where you have a mixture of single families and towns and duplex units. Where you're not really adjacent to that, it makes it very challenging. But that's why we're here, and I don't want to belabor this. I get the sense that you're asking us to consider moving forward with the way the ordinance is written, and really not interested in entertaining a change.
Mr. Whittle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here.
Municipal.
So, Mr. Chairman, we have three pieces of equipment, 10-inch over, 3-point power taker, and another John Deere rear mower. We're all put on municipal, or township has grown and gotten different equipment. So these items were listed on municipal, and you do have a winning bidder there if you would like to accept that bid. A motion for you.
Okay, the motion accept the bid of Dennis Dougherty for the amount of $2,100 for used tractor attachments as advertised. I'll make that motion to accept the bid.
I'll second that. Just as a comment, it looks like, boy, in 15 minutes worth of time, we're being crazy right at the end there. You know, the dollar value went from $750 to $2,100 pretty quick at the end of the time. So
Okay, one word.
I'll second that.
Okay, any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Those no, motion carries. Thank you. Timber harvest ordinance.
Yes. We did receive a complaint through the Attorney General's office under a law which is entitled
agriculture communities and rural environments, the abbreviated ACRE. And what that law says basically is that municipalities are not allowed to put any regulations into a timber harvest ordinance that are stricter or more restrictive than what's in the state regulations concerning. So it's pretty much the opposite of all other things where the township can set additional conditions on it that are added onto the state regs. In this case, specifically on timber harvest and a couple of other agricultural things, it's the opposite. You can only do what the state is doing. And so we had a complaint filed against the township's ordinance. And in reviewing that, going through it, based on just what exactly the law says, there are a whole bunch of things in our ordinance that have to go, basically. And by the time you take all those out, that was going to create some problems in it. So they have they're calling a model ordinance that they've prepared that meets all of those criteria. And looking over that model ordinance, it has a lot of provisions in it that ours didn't, so in some ways it's better. It doesn't get into all of the little nitty-gritty details of micromanaging how timber is harvested, but what it does is you're allowed to say, okay, you have to follow the state regulations. And in the state regulations, since they're out of multiple agencies, cover nearly everything that we had in our original ordinance. And that means that in a dispute over this, it would end up being between the timber harvesting company and the state rather than the timber harvesting company and the township. So after reviewing it, my recommendation is that we go with the model ordinance. There were a couple minor additions that I suggested could be added to it. We'll have to then check back with the Attorney General to make sure that they're going to accept it with those additions. But they were, again, related to stuff in the state regs. I had sent all this stuff off to Tom Goodman, and he was okay with it. Said the next step would be to go to the supervisors and see if they're all right with going in this direction. Then we would respond back to the Attorney General with what we're proposing to do. If he signs off on it, then it would be a matter of changing our timber harvest ordinance. At least that's the way I understand the way the process is going to have to work.
And we really don't have a choice here. I mean, you know, we have to follow their rules and regs. So, and it's Penn State, I believe, that developed the ordinance.
Yes, it's Penn State Forestry that developed the model
And you had
ordinance.
added a few things to.
I added a couple of things. One of the sections in the ordinance has to do with needing to comply with state laws. And they listed the Chapter 102, which is erosion and sedimentation controls. Their timber harvest is required to follow those. And also the Chapter 105 requirements, which relate to wetland encroachments and stream crossings and that sort of thing. And what I'd suggested that we do is add in a third state agency, the Fish and Game Commission, because the way this whole thing started out was actually because of the Fish and Game Commission. There was a person in the township started doing a timber harvest without a permit. And the way it was discovered was when the person who stocks the trout in Little Cocalico Creek got to the site where he was going to stock the trout and discovered all the trees were gone and the ground's all torn up and no erosion and sediment control, so he decided no, he can't stock the trout there. And so that's what alerted us to this. And so that Fish and Game Commission, Fish and Boat Commission, I'm sorry, has regulations in there about protecting the aquatic habitats and floodplains, and it's a fairly broad definition of what they're able to regulate. So it's my suggestion to add that in for a little extra security.
So, you know, if you gentlemen want to give a directive to Ken to go ahead and notify Tom to proceed with this, and then we can respond back to the Attorney General General.
Right.
In that letter.
So I think at this point, the first step would probably be to write back to them, tell them that this is what we're doing, this is the draft we're looking at enacting, and see if that will be consistent with the state regs. And then, once we get an okay on that, then proceed going to Tom to go through the process of the ordinance change.
Okay. What's the wish of the board?
Came from the Attorney General.
Yeah.
I think that one's clear.
Yep.
I just want to say hats off to Ken. There was a lot of time and research that had to go into just responding to this letter, and he spent many, many hours, and good job.
Good job, Jen. Yeah, I think we should pass it along.
Yep. Okay.
So, Ken, yep.
All right, should there be a motion for that, or just,
Respond back to it. Do you need a motion for that?
that was my question, should it be a motion or just authorization?
No,
to
just
do so?
authorization.
Okay. We'll get that ready, I'll pass you guys before I ship it off, and then we'll send it to the Attorney General.
Okay. Thank you, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Line painting office space control quote.
So every year we contract with the county, they go out for mass, and Office Space was awarded the contract this year. They are doing the line painting of the roads they do every year. This does not include the homestead markings that we wanted, so that would be an additional. But this is the first bid, and as you can see, it's a little bit over what we had budgeted, but there is money in the bill.
Okay, the total bid is $39,683.71. We budgeted $36,500. Okay, what's the wish of the board?
Get it done.
Okay, the motion to accept the proposal submitted by Alpha Space Control for line painting, the amount of $39,683.71.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
That's June.
Does that include Rose Hill?
I don't have the list here.
Are the lines painted in there now?
They sure need to be. I've asked for that for quite a while, but then we were gonna get repaid, and now you tell me we're not gonna get repaid. You can't even tell where the crosswalks are anymore. Kids waiting for buses, nowhere for them to know where the crosswalks are, for anybody to stop them and not hit them.
Alan, Penny, can we get a list of specifically?
This does have a list that goes with it. It's a list, I don't have it on me, but it's the same roads that are done every year.
It's the same roads that go every year, so
Yeah, but I think there's,
we should add to them.
I
Well,
remember.
I have directed Brett to go around and check out the developments that need it, so, we're definitely gonna, now that Homestead's being overlaid, he has went out and measured those crosswalks, so we can get that done, since it is a new overlay, get those line paintings down, so that's gonna be another proposal coming in.
Right, because one of the things, when I saw that, one of the things I had thought about was, after they did Quail Hollow, Alan, they never went in and painted any of those in there, and I don't remember if that was on there. To
You're
your
right,
point.
the lines are not on.
They're all missing there, there's no stuff.
So before you approve this, I think you
We're
want to
trying
know
to
what you're
correct
paying
things
for.
as they go, so.
Well, we should get this started.
Yeah, these are the major, yeah, we can treat them in as a separate bid, because another bid is gonna come in for Homestead.
So you want to get that one started
Yep,
first?
absolutely, get them on the books.
So,
Does this include stop bars, or is this, you say line paint, you're talking about center line?
just stop bars also, stop bars.
Does that stop
Yeah,
bars?
double yellow, single white, PennDOT
577
left,
feet.
PennDOT right, PennDOT combination arrows, 24-inch stop bars,
Here, if you want to see it.
No,
6 light line
it's
cross.
kind of a generic, you say line paint,
Yeah.
people want to know.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And
I have that list.
railroad crossings and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, eight railroad crossings.
that's fine, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. A vote?
Yeah, I think we should, let's get that one started, and then let's cross-reference which one's pending.
Yeah, I'll give you that list.
Yeah.
I'll send that list out to you.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no, motion carried, thank you. Okay. Police Department, Chief.
Evening.
Good evening.
The report's a little different as of right now because of people being off for vacation and otherwise. I don't have the exact numbers of calls for service, et cetera. Those will be presented at the next meeting once we gather that info and are able to pull it out of the system. But I do have a couple of things to report on. The speed details continued throughout the month. The last detail was held will be held August 21st, so tomorrow. But the details that were already held, 111 citations were issued and 5 warnings were issued. And the next set of details, traffic details, I'll call them, will begin during the month of September, and those are usually focused on safety and seatbelts. Lancaster County Commissioners voted to keep the police radios encrypted, which we are very happy about. They will allow a certain number of fire and EMS radios to be changed to receive police dispatches, but that's not across the board, but that's a certain number. This is obviously appreciated and will continue to help protect the officers and the victims of any crimes or cases. I had a preliminary budget meeting, a very quick one with Judy, the Township Financial Administrator, and from looking at the current year's budget and the projections she so kindly did, I believe we will be able to purchase the new GTAC MVRs and the body cameras within the budget without going over budget in any way. So we're going to sit down and talk about that a little bit further, but the preliminary findings are that there should be enough money to purchase those, which are greatly needed, as I said last week. The civil unrest training is continuing. Half the officers of the department successfully completed that, and the other half will complete it within the next 2 training sessions at the State Police Academy. I attended the Denver Borough Public Safety meeting on August 6th. We talked about various issues. Some of our officers assisted the West Earl Police Department and Lancaster County District Attorney's Office in reference to the unfortunate homicide that the West Earl Township Police Department investigated. So I thank the officers for their professionalism and the help, and I was thanked by not only the Chief County Detective, but by West Earl's Police Chief. Finally, school starts on Tuesday. I had discussions with School Resource Officer Eric Fisher today, and phone calls to the principals of all the schools except Williamstown in regards to traffic. And I think Williamstown is pretty well going to go the same as it did in the past, going on the Ring Road and going through the back parking lot and coming back out. The Denver Elementary, the middle school, and the high school is going to take some patience from parents, family members, in reference, and other traffic going through the area in reference to what we're going to do, how we're going to send traffic around the schools, and I think we have it pretty well coordinated. They're going to utilize everybody calls it Talon Drive, past the athletic field to the all-purpose field. We're going to direct traffic through there for both the middle school and the Denver Elementary. Buses are going to take a little bit different route. Well, actually, no, they're going to stay the same in the morning. Possibly in the afternoon, we'll change a little bit. But we ask everybody to be safe, slow down, and the officers that are working, and myself, and Sergeant Brogan, will be out in the first week of school helping to make this run smooth. So it could potentially be a challenge, but nobody really knows how many children are going to be on buses, how many children are going to be taken by private vehicle. So we will work through it, and if changes need to be made, we will do so. That's my report.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief?
Yeah, Chief, I guess with your general message to the public, that if you're not taking a child or something to the high school morning, afternoon, find another way to get around that part of Denver?
Well, if you don't need to go down by the schools, it might be a good thing to avoid the area as you're traveling through. But if you are traveling through, we ask that just everybody follow the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And by doing that, slowing down and being patient, we're going to be able to change things if we need to. But yeah, it would be great if you don't really need to be in that area, not be in that area around those times. The dismissal time is special.
So you don't have any estimates at all yet in terms of the amount of kids that are going to be driving?
No, I think it's a little bit up in the air. And after, if it's a lot of private cars, and that might change after the first 2 weeks where some parents are saying if they were tired of waiting, and the kids might go on the bus. But I think everyone is going to obviously practice things. I happened to be at the high school yesterday for computer pickup, and that went very well. It's very organized, and I think that's how everything's going to go. They have a plan in place, and I think we're all going to follow it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Zoning officer, Tony.
Yes, good evening, everybody. You should have a copy of my report. I'll keep it short and sweet, but another busy month, 35 new applications, 35 permits issued, 11 in review, 9 for pickup. We had 6 new single-family dwelling units permitted in that time period, 8 certificates of occupancy, and 12 false alarm violations. The zoning hearing board, July, we had 2 cases. The first one was Mr. Brian Asper was requesting special exception from the ordinance for adaptive use of one principal use of the building, and that was granted. The second case was Joseph and Sarah Martin were looking for an approval of a dog kennel, breeding kennel at his property on West Schwartzville Road, and that was denied. August, we had 1 hearing in August. This is Holly and Mark Schmalzer, owners of a house at 16 Linda Drive, were requesting substitution or replacement of a non-conforming use, and that was granted with conditions. I do have a new case for September already scheduled. Mr. Richard Edwards is in litigation to buy the Wells Fargo Bank at the corner of North Town Road and Church Street. He's coming to the zoning board for a special exception, substitution or replacement of a non-conforming use to replace the bank with a hair salon, and also a variance to be permitted to use the second floor apartment. Under code enforcement, like I said, we'll keep it short and sweet. The zoning officer and the MS4 technician conducted site visits at various sites, 2 of them, well, a couple of them being Morganshire Basins. We met with several people there from the HOA to explain the rules and regulations and the requirements for maintaining those basins. We met out at Minettas Park. They were doing some grading activity there, and also other property over on Frederick Avenue. Becker Engineering and Zoning Officer, and also the MS4 technician, met with the HOA people at Danville, Morganshire. They've had a change in some of the officers there with the HOA. And they contacted us and they really wanted to be in depth as to what they need to do. So that was another good meeting out there. Once again, dealing with an HOA concerning these facilities is so much less painful than trying to deal with a homeowner that is shocked as to what the requirements are to maintain that facility. The township engineer and myself met with the Carriage Hill representatives on site for a pre-construction meeting. As you know, they started scrubbing and burning that site there, getting it ready for some earth moving activity. And let's see what else here. Kevin Craig and myself met with Goose Aluminum to evaluate their stormwater facilities earlier in the month, and also with the Dorm Apollo people over at their facilities, so that they know exactly what they need to do. 2 very good meetings. Again, those places have changed some of their personnel, so it's nice to get to know some of these new people that are in charge of the maintenance of those facilities. And if you don't mind, I can jump right into the road crew list of items that work that I've taken care of for this past month. I'll just go down the the list that was provided to me on this one. Cleaning interior and exterior of trucks and equipment weekly. Cleaning storm drains as needed. As you know, we've had a lot of sporadic thunderstorms carrying a lot of debris. Repairing signs as needed. Generating a list of signs that need fixed, straightened, and/or updated. Taking care of residents' complaints and concerns as needed. One stop sign was down in Mortgage development. And the crew checked it out, noticed it was fixed and taken care of. Just going over here, residents concerned why Mortgage development was not street swept this year and wanted debris and cinders cleaned up. When driving through the area, they did notice it was concerning and worth the time to go sweep and take the crew off of their projects. Evidently, it wasn't as dirty as the resident made it sound, I guess, here. The roadmaster will keep an eye on that neighborhood, and if notice the street sweeping needs done in the immediate future, they will then send the crew to do so. Okay, August 12th, had to call guys in to cut up a tree to get off the road after receiving a call from the county and the on-duty police officers. Preparing the upcoming homestead paving project. They worked with the Water and Sewer Authority to figure out the amount, how many manhole rises they'll need for those sanitary sewer manholes. And since it wasn't in the bid, they've got to come off that number. Bill from Alan Myers was out on the job. They walked the streets, and they got an accurate number of exactly what needs to be done. The line painting for 2020 is getting put on the schedule. As you know, we just discussed that. Also spoke with Rich about getting separate quote for the stop bars and crosswalks repainted, and new asphalt once the paving project is completed at Old Homestead. And that seems to be the bulk of it.
So for you, Rick did provide this report, and it is pretty detailed. He wasn't able to be here tonight, but he would like some input from the board on this report, and if, is that what you want to see from him? Any changes?
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look good?
Yeah.
All right, I'll let him know that.
Okay. Any questions of Tony? Yes, Judy. June.
Thank you for sending me the information via an email as to what the roadmaster gets paid $30 an hour.
That's correct.
Did you all figure out yet what certifications he has? I asked at the last meeting and you weren't sure, so would you tell me what certifications the new
No,
roadmaster has?
I neglected to do that, my apologies. I'll write that down.
Okay. Financial administrator, Judy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I was able to finish the July 31st bank reconciliations, and therefore I'm able to provide you with balance sheets for each of our funds. In reviewing these, I see that there are funds owed from the light and hydrant funds to the general fund for the tax collector's wages. So I want to take care of that this week and transfer that money. It's a little over $6,000 that I'll be transferring. Would you like me to go over the balances of the accounts? I know you have time to review the balance sheets.
I mean, I'm fine with it, we send the reports.
Yeah.
I don't know that we need to go through that in detail.
Okay, all right. Then on to the budget status report. This is through August 19th, and I was able to correct the financial administrator's salary that is now being charged to the police department rather than to the general general government office. That is where it was budgeted for 2020, so I wanted it to look there, but we'll have to have conversations during the budget process on where exactly that should be charged.
Yeah, I'm great with it. I think you're hers. She should be split between the two. Have to
2021 budget preparation. So my plan is to have the budget worksheets out to all department heads by September 8th. I already have projections calculated for all departments except for the road crew and highway department. Like the chief said, I had conversations with him as far as what people are used to seeing in past years to make sure that it would flow nicely from what they're used to seeing to how I would like to handle it. So I expect to be ahead of schedule on that area. The second thing, by September 28th, is to have all the worksheets back from the department heads with their ideas, what they have planned for the next year, compile them, and then have individual department head meetings through the month of October. We'll have a first blush to all parties by October 26th. And then time for budget discussions at the supervisors meetings on November 5th, November 12th, November 19th, and additional workshops if we need them on November 24th and 25th. Hopefully we'll be ready to adopt at the December 3rd board of supervisors meeting, and if not, we'll still have time to do it at December 17th.
Very good.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan. Any questions for Judy? Yes, Judy?
Do we have any outstanding township debt that can be refinanced to save on interest rates since they're so low?
Well, I'd say the major loan, I guess, was that state loan Doug, that was put together on that Denver Road project. Wasn't that less than 2% at the time?
That was the state, yeah, they gave it to us at 1.75 or 2, but it was through the state, it was a special deal.
Yeah,
And that's over with, I think. Yeah.
yeah, in today's market, I don't know how much better you do than that.
I don't even think in the open market, we're going to get that rate.
Is there any other outstanding debt that we have that could be refinanced?
Well, there's a lot of equipment purchases that put on the books in the last few years, but,
Their lease,
Your lease agreement.
Their
lease agreements, they're different.
yep.
It's different.
Basically, that's all we had.
Police cars?
Nope, they're paid for.
Yeah, they were
They're all paid.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions for Judy? Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Judy.
List of bills.
Okay, treasurer's report, state fund of $129,096.33. We have a light fund of $12,306.71. We have a general fund of $59,713.40, for a total of $201,116.44. Any questions?
I make a motion that the bills. Question, Jim, sorry.
What's the name of the township attorney?
Tom Goodman will be the,
Okay, on the list of bills, there's a fee here for $19,463. I'm sorry, $46 for Gold and Associates. Sydney Gold, what's that for?
But that's for legal fees, and that is due for a settlement agreement.
For what?
So personnel matter.
What's the best explanation you can give me?
That's the best I can give you. It's a
Yep.
personnel matter, and I can't discuss that.
Do we need another attorney besides the township attorney we already have?
So, so this is legal fees that have to be paid. That's all I can really say.
Anyone?
So it's part of a settlement agreement,